My name's Jason Miller, 46. I fix other people's broken appliances for a living in Cedar Park, Texas. That night, I found out the one thing I never thought I'd have to fix was my own life. It was a Tuesday, nothing special. I got home around 6, still smelling like dust and Freon, and did what I always do when Emily worked late. Started dinner for 2. Chicken in the pan, rice in the pot, Max snoring until he heard the fridge door and came trotting in like he owned the place. At 7:18 p.m., my phone buzzed. Drink with coworkers. Don't wait up. That was it. No heart emoji. No love you. Just instructions. I told myself that's normal, that after 13 years you don't need fireworks in every text. I scraped her plate back into the pan, wrapped it in foil and left it in the fridge. Max parked himself by the front door, like he still believed she'd come through it any minute. Me? I tried to be that easygoing husband everyone likes. I turned on the game, half-watched, half-listened for tires in the driveway. 9:30 slid past, then 10, then 11. At 11:06, I caved and sent 3 words. Everything okay? No typing bubble. No reply. Just the blue glow of the stove clock staring back at me every time I walked through the kitchen. Midnight hit. Then 1. The neighborhood went quiet, that deep silence you only hear when everyone else is asleep and you're the idiot still pacing his own living room. Max would lift his head every time a car passed, then drop it again when it kept going. By 2:40 a.m., I wasn't angry. I was empty. That's the part nobody talks about. Not rage. Just a hollow spot in your chest where trust used to live. At 3:27 a.m., the driveway was still empty. The porch light was still on. My phone was still dead quiet. Somewhere between 9:30 p.m. and 3:27 a.m., something in me snapped clean, like a wire finally giving way. No shouting, no smashed dishes, no dramatic movie scene. Just a man sitting in the dark, realizing he's the only one in the marriage who's actually in the house. If you've ever counted minutes instead of sleeping, you already know exactly what kind of story this is. Morning came like it always does, and that almost pissed me off more than the night. Alarm at 6 a.m., same stupid ringtone. I slapped it off, rolled over to her empty side of the bed. Cold. No note on the nightstand. No text waiting. Just dust on her charger and my own reflection in the black TV screen. I got up anyway. Muscle memory. Coffee on. Shower. Work shirt. Boots. Max thumping his tail against the cabinets like this was just another day. For about an hour, I let myself pretend maybe she came in after I finally crashed. Maybe she left early. Maybe I just didn't hear. At 7:12 a.m., my phone buzzed on the counter. I'm fine. Don't be dramatic. That was it. 13 years boiled down to 4 words and a pat on the head. You'd think I'm fine would be what stung. It wasn't. It was dramatic. Like the hours I spent staring at that door were some kind of comedy bit. Like worrying where my wife slept was a character flaw. Something switched off in me right there, between the toaster and the dog bowl. I stopped feeling hurt and started feeling curious. Cold, clean curiosity. I finished my coffee before I touched my phone again. I sat down at the table, opened it slowly. Not the messages. The Uber app. Little black icon I almost never use because I drive my own damn truck. I walked myself through it like a job menu. Trips. Past rides. Her profile picture stared back at me from the corner. Same one from her work email, professional smile, hair tucked just right. I scrolled through the history. Thumb steady, heart not so much. There it was. Pickup. Downtown office, 11:42 p.m. drop-off. Copper Ridge Lane, 12:09 a.m. Copper Ridge Lane. Took me a second. Then it landed. Ryan Brooks. Good guy coworker. The one she'd laughed off when I asked once. He's married, relax. Funny how I was always the one who needed to relax. I zoomed the map in until the little pin sat dead center on his street. Same cul-de-sac I'd driven past at the company barbecue 2 summers ago. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't shout. I just started taking screenshots. Every screen, every timestamp, the route line from her office to his neighborhood. Save them one by one into a new folder. Not evidence. Truth. Because I wasn't building a case for a courtroom. I was building a case for myself, for the idiot version of me that would, in a week or a month, want to believe her tears over my own memory. I sat back, phone in my hand, Max's head on my knee, and I made a quiet decision. I was done arguing with feelings. My gut had been screaming for months. Now I had blue and white proof. She could call me dramatic all she wanted. Facts don't care what adjectives you use on them. I went to work like nothing had happened. That's the thing about being a repair tech. People don't care if your life's on fire as long as their AC blows cold. So I drove my truck, punched my tickets, hauled my toolbox up strangers' driveways while my brain replayed Copper Ridge Lane on loop. Every unit I opened that morning was the same story. Something that used to work, slowly failing, ignored until it finally quit. People always acted surprised when I showed them the corroded parts. How did it get that bad? Same way my marriage did. One small thing at a time. Around lunch, I parked under the same shade tree I always use and pulled out my phone. I could have scrolled, could have reread the screenshots, could have texted her and started that familiar dance. Instead, I put the phone back in my pocket, turned the key, and drove. Not home, not to her office, to a small hardware store off the main road. The kind that still smells like metal, oil, and sawdust. The old guy behind the counter gave me a nod. I walked straight to the lock aisle like I'd been there 100 times. Stainless, brass, smart locks with keypads and Wi-Fi. I didn't need anything fancy, just something new. Something that hadn't spent 13 years turning for someone who couldn't even answer a text. I picked a solid brass deadbolt. Paid cash. No paper trail she could read as dramatic. At 12:23 p.m., I was on my own porch, Texas sun burning the back of my neck. Max sat just inside the doorway watching like a furry security guard. I took a screwdriver to the old lock, the one we'd installed when we first bought the house. 2 screws, faceplate off, guts exposed. Came free easier than I expected. The new lock slid in like it had been waiting its turn. Click, tighten, test. When I was done, I went inside, pulled her key off the hook by the door, and set it dead center on the kitchen table. Just a tiny piece of metal, but it suddenly meant access, trust, home. Things she didn't have anymore. I wasn't staging a movie scene. Nobody was there to clap or cry. It was just me, a dog, a new deadbolt, and a simple line drawn in brass. When she came back, she wasn't walking into our house like nothing happened. She was going to have to knock and meet the version of me that finally woke up. I got home before she did. The house was dim, curtains mostly drawn. I left a slice of light by the front window so I could see the driveway without being seen. Max paced a little, then settled by my feet like he could feel the charge in the room. 6 o'clock. 7. The sun went down and the porch light clicked on, bouncing weak yellow off the new brass lock. A little after 8, I heard it. Tires on gravel, engine cutting, car door thunk. Her footsteps on the walk were familiar, casual. No pause, no hesitation. Key jingled. Metal slid into the lock. Then nothing. She tried again. Harder. Jiggle. Twist. That little frustrated exhale I'd heard 100 times when drawers stuck or jars wouldn't open. Jason. A laugh in her voice at first. What's wrong with the door? I didn't answer. Max's ears pricked. My hand rested on the wall by the frame, steady. Key again. Sharper now. Seriously, this isn't funny. Open the door. Silence stretches people thin. After a minute, her tone cracked. My phone died last night. Okay? I crashed on a coworker's couch. You're blowing this out of proportion. There it was. The script. I let her run it. It's not what you think. I was drunk. I didn't want to drive. Each line hit the door and slid down like rain on glass. When I finally spoke, I didn't raise my voice. Who is he? She went quiet. Just wind and her breathing on the other side of the wood. Jason, open the door. We can talk about this. 11:42 p.m. I said. Pick up from your office. Uber. Drop off at Copper Ridge Lane. Ryan Brooks's place. The porch boards creaked as she shifted. It's not like that. Don't tell his wife, please. There it was. Her first real panic. Not about me. Not about us. About him. I let that settle heavier than the deadbolt between us, and for the first time in a long time, my pulse stayed steady. While she was spinning outside the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Different vibration. Not a notification I recognized. I pulled it out, thumbed the screen, still leaning against the wall. New message. Unknown number. First name I didn't know. Last name I did. Lauren Brooks. You should see where they went. No hello. No explanation. Just that. Another text came in before I could answer. I'm Ryan's wife. Check your messages before you open that door. My mouth went dry in a way anger never did. I tapped the first attachment. Photo 1, grainy, zoomed, but clear enough. Emily's navy coat under a hotel neon sign. Her head tipped back like she was laughing. Timestamp, 12:37 a.m. Photo 2, lobby shot. Emily standing shoulder to shoulder with Ryan at the front desk. His hand on the counter, leaning in close, hers brushed against his sleeve. No distance. No accident. Photo 3, elevator doors half closed. His arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her in. Her body leaning toward him, not away. No sign of a couch anywhere. My stomach didn't drop. It was locked. Last text from Lauren. Room 314. Charged to his card. Checkout 7:08 a.m. I've got the statement. Outside. Emily hit the door again with her palm. Jason, please. You're scaring me. This is insane. I slid my phone back into my pocket, hit the speaker, and let my voice carry through the wood. 7:08 a.m. I said. Room 314. That ring a bell. She froze. I heard it in the sudden lack of movement more than anything. What are you talking about? The hotel neon looked good on you, I said. Navy coat, hair down. Elevator shots my favorite, though. You look real comfortable with his arm around you. Her breath hitched. Who sent you that? Jason, this is nothing, it didn't mean anything. There it was. The line. If the night meant nothing to her, then she just told me what our marriage did. I stood there a second, feeling the last pieces click together. The late nights, the don't be dramatic, the missing ring on certain days she thought I wouldn't notice. All of it leading to a door marked 314. I unlatched the chain and turned the new deadbolt. Opened the door just a hand's width. She stood there with mascara smeared, hair tangled, last night's clothes hanging wrong on her. Phone in one hand, useless key in the other. Her eyes went straight to the gap, then to my face, hunting for the old version of me. The one who'd hug first, ask questions later. He wasn't home. She tried anyway. Jason, I messed up. Okay? I was drunk. We were talking, I held up a manila envelope. She blinked. What is that? This, I said, is me not being dramatic. I put it together at lunch. While she was wrapping up her meeting, I was at a print shop downtown, using a public computer to pull generic Texas divorce forms, separation notice, and a list from a locksmith near her sister's complex. Filled out what I could. Signed my name in blue ink that didn't shake. I slid the envelope through the narrow space. She took it like it might bite. I'm not ending this over one night, I said. I'm ending it over every lie it took to get there. You chose him. I'm just choosing me. Tears came then, hard and fast. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll block him. I'll quit my job if you want. You already quit something, I said. You just forgot to tell me. For a second, we just stood there, a couple inches of wood and 13 years between us. She clutched the envelope to her chest. Please don't ruin his life. Don't tell Lauren. Think about his kids. And that was it. The last nail. You're still protecting him, I said quietly. Not us. Not me. I closed the door until the latch caught, then turned the new deadbolt I'd bought with cash, the one she'd never have a key to. On the other side, I heard a choked breath, then footsteps backing away from the house like it was something on fire. Maybe it was. I just finally decided I wasn't the one who needed to burn in it. After she left with the envelope, the house went quiet in a new way. Not the usual she's at yoga quiet. This was surgical. Clean. like the sound you get after a machine finally shuts off and you realize how loud it had been the whole time. I sat at the kitchen table with my old chipped Miller's Repair mug and let the coffee go lukewarm. Max laid at my feet, head on his paws, eyes tracking me like he was waiting for orders. The pain was there, heavy, but it was like it had moved to the background behind something sharper. I took my wallet out, thumbed past receipts and loyalty cards, and pulled out a beat-up business card. Mike's old referral from a few years back. Daniel Carter and Wells, attorneys at law. I kept it for someday, meaning Will's, maybe a small business question. Turns out someday showed up with hotel photos. I dialed. The receptionist answered in that soft office voice. Carter and Wells, how can I help you today? My name's Jason Miller, I said. My wife checked into a hotel with a coworker last night. I've got proof. I think it's time I talk to somebody. No gasp. No drama. Just a pause, keys clicking. I'm sorry you're going through that, Mr. Miller. Can you come in later this week? Or would you prefer a phone consultation? I'll have Mr. Carter send over a preliminary email with things to gather either way. 10 minutes later, I had an email in my inbox. Subject line, next steps, Miller. Inside, bullet points, assets, accounts, documentation, short, practical sentences that didn't care how I felt, just what needed doing. That was something I understood. I grabbed a yellow legal pad and walked the house like I was on a service call. Not a husband, an inspector. 2 vehicles, both titles in the safe. House, mortgage file in the office. My tools, full inventory in the garage. Her stuff, closet, jewelry box, the fancy mixer she loved more than my grill. I took photos of everything that mattered. Vince, serial numbers, bank statements. Printed the Uber screenshots, the hotel texts from Lauren, the photos of room 314. Slid them into a fresh manila folder, marked with a single word in black ink. Carter. On a small sticky note, I wrote to myself, Jason, don't second-guess this. Her lies don't define your worth. I stuck it to the inside cover, where only I'd see it when I opened the folder later and started doubting. Max hopped up, put his paws on my thigh, nose bumping my arm. I scratched behind his ears. At least one of you knows who you're loyal to, I said. He wagged his tail like that was the simplest thing in the world. And for the first time that day, something about this whole mess felt manageable. Not fixed, not healed, just turned into a job that needed doing. Those I know how to finish. That night, the house felt too big. I'd done my list, filled my folder, and talked to a lawyer's office. I'd taken action. You'd think that would make it easier to sleep. Didn't. I was on the couch, TV on low, not watching it, when my phone lit up. Emily. I let it ring twice before I answered. Yeah. She was already crying. Not the controlled sniffles I'd seen before arguments. This was ugly, ragged. Jason, please don't do this. I'm so sorry. We can fix this. I'll go to counseling. I'll block Ryan. I'll quit my job if that's what you want. Just don't throw us away. Her words hit quickly, one on top of the other. Like if she stopped to breathe, I'd hang up. I didn't say anything right away. Years of birthdays, road trips, dumb inside jokes. All of it tried to rise up and defend her. 13 years doesn't just vanish because of a hotel, my brain whispered. Then room 314 flashed behind my eyes. His arm around her waist. The 7:08 a.m. checkout. Her begging me not to tell his wife. I've been loyal, Jason, she said, voice cracking. I made one mistake. Don't I get a chance to fix it? I took a breath. I fix things for a living, Em. I know what can be repaired and what needs replacing. Silence on the line. Just her breathing. This wasn't a crack, I said. You didn't trip and fall into his room. You planned it. You lied. For months. That's not a broken part. That's a different machine. Please, she whispered. Don't give up on us. I stared at the dark TV. Max curled on the rug, finally calm. I'm not giving up on me, I said. Take care. I hung up. The next day, Cedar Park carried on like nothing had happened. Lawn mowers buzzed. Kids rode bikes. Mrs. Green across the street checked her mail in the same pink robe she's worn for 10 years. The world doesn't collapse just because your heart does. Good to know. I went to the fridge, pulled down the house list Emily had written weeks ago. Change AC filter, tighten loose front door hinge, fix dripping faucet. I tackled them one by one. New filter in. Hinge tightened. Faucet disassembled. Washer replaced. Leak gone. Standing at the sink, tools spread out, I realized something simple. I still knew how to show up, how to take care of what was mine. Being her husband was only part of who I am. Now the job wasn't fixing us. It was fixing what was left of me. I told a lawyer. I told my dog. The only person left was the one who taught me not to take crap in the first place. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in my hand, thumb hovering over Mom. It felt stupid being a grown man hesitating to call his own mother. But there it was. I hit dial. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, baby, is everything okay? No point easing into it. She cheated, I said. The voice came out steady. I've seen enough. I'm ending it. There was a long, tired sigh on the other end. Not surprised. Not shocked. Just sad. I'm proud of you, she said finally. You'd be weak for staying where you're not respected. I swallowed harder at that than at any of Emily's speeches. Yeah, I said. Figured that out last night. We didn't stay long. We're not a talk-for-hours family. She told me she loved me, told me to call if I needed anything, then let me go without trying to talk me out of it. When I hung up, the house was still quiet, but I didn't feel as alone. That night, I walked to the front door, looked at the porch light switch, and flipped it off early. No more lighthouses for someone who sailed to another shore. I locked the new deadbolt with a solid, final click. Max curled up at my feet like he understood this was the new routine. For the first time in a long time, I slept more than an hour without jolting awake to check the driveway. In the morning, my inbox pinged. Next steps, Miller from Daniel Carter. Clean breakdown. Timelines. What comes next? I wrote out. Later, Emily's texts came in waves. How I was overreacting. How she misses us. How we could start fresh. I answered once. I wish you well. Then I blocked her number. The silence after didn't feel like abandonment anymore. It felt like square footage I finally got to live in. I didn't wake up healed. There's no magic day where the hurt packs its bags, leaves a note, and moves out. What happens is simpler. One morning you realize the hurt doesn't get the first word anymore. That afternoon, the sky started doing that Texas thing it does. Orange bleeding into purple over the roof's heat finally letting go. I grabbed Max's leash off the hook by habit, then stopped and looked at it for a second. Old life. Husband waiting for his wife to text before he took a walk. New life. Man walks his dog when he feels like it. I clipped the leash to Max's collar. Come on, buddy, I said. We've got some ground to cover. We stepped out onto the porch. The bulb above the door was off, even though the light outside was already fading. Used to flip it on without thinking, like a beacon, in case she was late, in case she was stuck in traffic, in case she needed to see her way home. Now the porch stayed dim. The message had flipped. This house isn't a waiting room anymore. We hit the sidewalk. The neighborhood was alive the way it always is at that hour. Kids screaming at the park. Someone grilling 2 streets over. Music from a backyard speaker carrying just enough bass to feel in your ribs. Life. Regular, boring life. Max trotted ahead, nails ticking on the concrete, tail up. It struck me that he didn't care about divorce filings, hotel rooms, or broken vows. His world was simple. This guy at the end of the leash shows up. That's my person. Good metric. We turned the corner by the retention pond, the one with the half-dead trees and the ducks that never seemed to leave. A truck rolled up slowly behind us, engine low, tires crunching over the gravel at the curb. Tom from around the corner leaned out his window. Late 40s, paint on his forearm, same ball cap he's worn since I moved here. Hey, Jason, he said. Heard some of what's going on. He hesitated, like he wasn't sure how far to go. Hang in there, man. It was the kind of line people say when they don't know what else fits. But something in his face said he knew enough. Maybe Lauren had talked. Maybe Emily had tried her version and it didn't land. Cheaters always forget the part where other people have eyes. I looked at him, really looked. Then I heard my own answer before I thought it. "I'm good," I said. And for the first time since this whole thing started, it wasn't a lie I told to keep the peace. It was a statement of direction. I wasn't okay. I wasn't fine. But I knew which way I was walking, and it wasn't backward. He nodded once, like that was the right answer, gave a little salute, and rolled on. Max and I kept moving. You get a lot of time to think when you're walking a dog who has to sniff every blade of grass in the county. Somewhere between mailboxes and streetlights, I realized something I should have known years ago. My marriage didn't end in room 314. It ended a piece at a time. Every "relax, you're overreacting." Every "he's just a friend." Every eye roll when I asked a simple question. Room 314 was just the final address. I thought about that Uber map, that line from her office to Copper Ridge, then to the hotel neon. Guys, if you're listening to this, here's the part you need to hear. You don't end a marriage over one night. You end it over the road it took to get there. If you've ever had your gut twist and been told you were crazy, you weren't. You were just with someone who needed you to doubt yourself so they could keep doing what they were doing. We looped past the small park. A little girl tried to get her dad's attention, pointing at Max. "Doggy," she yelled. The dad smiled, waved at me, went back to his phone. Normal. Ordinary. A life where the biggest crisis that night was whether the kid got another 5 minutes on the swings. For a second, I felt this weird ache. Not for Emily, not for us, but for the version of me that thought my life was that simple too. Work, home, wife, dog, bills, weekends. The straight line. Then I remembered. I kept my end of the deal. I worked. I paid the bills. I fixed the leaks and the rattles. I stayed. When I said, "for better or worse," I meant it. She just quietly opted out and left the porch light on in case I stayed dumb. We cut down a quieter side street. The sky was full on fire by then. Purples and reds and that deep blue that means the day's giving up the fight. Max stopped to pee on some poor guy's bush. I let him. I looked at the camera in my head, the same one I've been talking to this whole time, the one I'm talking to you through right now, and I said it straight. If you're a man watching this, and you've got that knot in your stomach you keep trying to ignore, listen to it. You're not weak for asking questions. You're not dramatic for wanting respect. That's the bare minimum. You're not crazy because the facts don't line up with her stories. I shoved my free hand in my pocket, felt the rough edge of the sticky note I'd carried with me from the folder earlier. Her lies don't define your worth. I didn't pull it out. I didn't need to read it again. I believe it now. I didn't walk away because I'm perfect, I said to that invisible guy on the other side of the screen. I'm not. I've missed things. I've snapped on bad days. I've screwed up and said stupid, selfish stuff. But I showed up. I slept in my own bed. I answered my phone. I kept my vows even when it was boring and hard and nobody was clapping. We turned toward home. From the sidewalk, my house looked the same as it did 2 weeks ago. Same paint. Same roofline. Same little patch of grass I keep meaning to resod. But the inside. Different battlefield now. That's the point, I went on. You don't have to be flawless to deserve loyalty. You just have to be present. If she can't give you that, you're not asking too much. You're just asking the wrong person. Max pulled a little on the leash, eager for dinner. I let him set the pace for the last block. So here's where I leave you in this chapter. Porch light off, lawyer engaged, deadbolt changed, envelope delivered, number blocked. I'm filing. Lauren's filing. 2 people who didn't ask for this mess decided we're not going to drown in somebody else's choices. And Ryan, let's just say men like him never think past the hotel door. They forget about HR policies. They forget about security cameras. They forget their wife might be smarter and calmer than they are. They forget that sometimes the quiet husband is also the guy who keeps records, dates, and names. What happened to him, professionally, legally, at home, that's not tonight's story. That's another chapter. One I'm finally ready to tell without shaking. For now, I walked up my own driveway, dog at my side, key in my lock. I opened the door to a house that felt empty in all the right ways. No lies, no fake apologies, no waiting for a car that wasn't coming. I unclipped Max's leash. He trotted straight to his bowl like he always does. I stood there a second, hand on the new deadbolt, and realized something simple. I didn't lose a wife that night. I stopped losing myself. And tomorrow we start talking about what happens when a man like Ryan Brooks finally runs out of places to hide.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.